one fund. On point for today, the expert to talk about it. Welcome to the ETF of the Week. Yes, this is the ETF of the Week, where we examine trending, new, newsworthy, unique, and intriguing ETFs with the help of Todd Rosenbluth. He's head of research at VettaFi. And at VettaFi.com, you'll find all the tools you need to be a better, savvier, smarter investor in exchange-traded funds. Todd Rosenbluth, great to be with you again.
It's great to be with you, Chuck.
Your ETF of the Week is
the Grayscale Ethereum Mini Trust, ticker ETH.
ETH. It's the Grayscale Ethereum Mini Trust. Now, Todd, this is an unusual pick for you in a lot of different ways because this is a brand new, just out of the box kind of thing. And while ETFs don't have an IPO the way that stocks do, you know, research and getting stuff when they're brand new is kind of hard. So why this ETF now?
So you teased new, newsworthy, intriguing. This definitely fits all of those categories. So ETH, as we're recording this on Tuesday, has just begun trading. Now it's a spin-off actually of Grayscale's Ethereum Trust, which was not an ETF until today. $1 billion is now in this ETF on day one trading. It's actually trading out of the gate quite well for a relatively new ETF. We can talk more about what is Ethereum and how it offers exposure, but this is a very low cost way of getting exposure to this emerging investment style. The fee is actually zero for the first 6 months until the fund hits a certain asset threshold or a time period. So for folks that have been waiting to get the benefits of an ETF, but getting access to the Ethereum and the strong performance that Ethereum has had in 2024, going back even further than that, ETH is a great way of doing that.
Let's talk a little bit about Ethereum because, of course, when it comes to crypto, everybody's familiar with Bitcoin. I think people know that there's Ethereum and maybe Dogecoin and a couple of others, but they don't quite understand the differences or why you would want to be specific to Ethereum rather than just being in crypto.
Right. So Bitcoin is the largest of the cryptocurrencies. Ethereum, or Ether, actually is the second largest, but they're somewhat different from one another. Whereas Bitcoin itself is considered digital gold, and it's a store of value opportunity, and limited supply helps the price go up. Ethereum is more tied to blockchain and digital finance and having transactions go back and forth between financial institutions. Visa is one of those that's been using the Ethereum network. This is a way of tapping into the technology. That is the future. So I like to think of this more as a way of playing the technology theme, but instead of through individual stocks, it's just actually playing the technology. And as more and more companies adopt Ethereum, then the price could go up. But there's obviously speculation. This is a risky investment, regardless of whether or not it's a new ETF. This is still a highly volatile investment approach.
There's no question that crypto is volatile. But when we're talking about a single crypto fund, how does that relate to, say, a single stock ETF? Because we've had this evolution of single stock ETFs, which is basically ways to turbocharge your exposure to an NVIDIA or something along those lines. Single crypto ETFs, are they similar or different to single stock ETFs?
So I would think of it more as an equity sector strategy. So as opposed to an individual stock, I would like to think of Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana and some of these other ones as sectors within the overall the asset category of cryptocurrency. So the same way that some folks that, you might have gone into Bitcoin because it's the largest, technology is the largest of those sectors. This is more like financial services or healthcare, a more moderately sized segment of the cryptocurrency asset class. Now, I know you're going to get to how could this fit into a portfolio, and bear in mind, it's on day one as we're talking. But we find that asset managers, investment managers, advisors are looking to have a single digit percentage of their assets tied to cryptocurrency. And Ethereum could be a smaller slice and could pair well with Bitcoin for folks that want to diversify away from traditional equities and fixed income. And again, that low price point of 0 out of the gate and then going up to 15 basis points of ETH is particularly compelling to me.
In that small slice of a portfolio, as we noted, Bitcoin, largest cryptocurrency, Ether, number 2. Should somebody be thinking, if I'm going to take a sliver of my portfolio, 3%, 5%, 8%, I'm then going to divide that sliver. Basically, if Bitcoin is number 1 and Ether is number 2, it's 60% to Bitcoin, 40% to Ether, or something along those lines. Do you do it by? Would you consider an allocation based on where the currency, the individual crypto is within the market?
So that's one way of doing it. And that's the way I think some folks that are early adopters into cryptocurrency might be thinking of it. And they might have wanted to do that outside of the ETF structure. And now the liquidity and efficiency of using an ETF makes it easier to be able to do. But there's likely to be some advisors and end investors that have not gone into Bitcoin because they don't see the use case other than it's a digital currency, but they're familiar with some of these large institutions that are using Ethereum and using blockchain, and thus this is a way of tapping into. So I think there's an audience, a potential audience for folks that are looking at this in combination with other alternative investments, or for some folks, this might be the right one. And for others, I realize this is my focus ETF of the week. This might not be the right focus fund for you. We do this on a weekly basis. This is a new and timely and newsworthy ETF, and I wanted to make sure we were getting in front of it and talking about it. And Grayscale, having had a long history of offering both Bitcoin and Ethereum products, not in the ETF structure until 2024, but products that were available, they are a leading voice within the space. They've got that expertise to help you get up to speed about what's going on in the cryptocurrency market and Ethereum in particular.
I've got to ask, because somebody who listens to ETF of the week will ask for sure, why is it mini? Why is it the Grayscale Ethereum mini trust?
Yeah, so Grayscale's actually launched, or 2 products from Grayscale are now trading as we're talking on Tuesday. They had a pre-existing product that converted from a trust into an ETF. That fund, that's ETF, which is under the ticker ETHE, it has an E at the end of it, an E in the beginning and an E at the end of it. That has a higher fee. It has over $9 billion in assets. What Grayscale has done is offer a strategy, a product in an ETF wrapper for those that want the larger fund that has the liquidity, the trading history of a pre-existing strategy, and they've now offered a more retail-oriented, lower price point product in the ticker ETH. ETH is 0 fee right now. It will go to 15 basis points. The other Grayscale product is considerably more expensive. And this one that we're talking about, ETH, actually has a lower share price. I believe it's around $3. So you could buy one share if you wanted to, and just take a dipping your toe to just get the experience of it. Or you could do 100 shares if you wanted to. Again, not investment advice, for a very low entry fee and be able to get some exposure. So it's a good question. Grayscale has 2 products. The cheaper one is ETH.
Well, and there is a lesson in there for our audience, which is, if you're seeing anything and they drop the word mini, that from the ETF standpoint, you don't have share classes like you do with traditional funds. But that mini is basically telling you, hey, it's a variation of another fund, and you should always take a look and make sure you're getting the best version for you.
Agreed. So mini in ETF terms tends to mean cheaper. It's a way of having your cake and eating it too in the ETF space. But Grayscale Again, they've got the liquidity behind the other product. It will obviously trade more, but for folks that want to dip their toe into the cryptocurrency market using Ethereum, ETH is a great low-cost way of doing so.
And just as we saw a ton of Bitcoin funds when the Bitcoin funds were first launched, and you made one of them the ETF of the week, well, Ethereum funds, newer, are we expecting that, not so much that this is the first, but that we will see the big run here on Ethereum funds now from everybody else?
So as we're talking today, 9 products from 8 different firms are trading. So we've got some of the usual suspects that offered a Bitcoin ETF, BlackRock and Fidelity. Van Eck is among them, Bitwise. I could name them all and probably be here for longer. So there are lots of choices. There are lots of low-cost choices. I've chosen the Grayscale product because it's coming to market with $1 billion and it's cheap. And so people are quite familiar with the Grayscale name. It's one of the funds to consider.
Yeah, what we can say about all those other funds, they are not the ETF of the week, because the ETF of the week is ETH, the brand new Grayscale Ethereum Mini ETF. That's the pick from Todd Rosenbluth at VettaFi. Todd, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks a lot, Chuck.
The ETF of the week is a joint production of VettaFi and Moneylife with Chuck Jaffe. Yeah, that's me. And you can learn all about my hour-long weekday show by going to moneylifeshow.com or by looking for it wherever you find great podcasts. And if you're looking for great information on exchange-traded funds, look no further than VettaFi.com, where they have all the tools you need to be a better investor. They're on Twitter or X at Vetta_Fi. And Todd Rosenbluth, their head of research, my guest, he's on Twitter too, at Todd Rosenbluth. The ETF of the week is here for you every Thursday. Make sure you don't miss an episode by subscribing along. We'll see you again next week. And until then, happy investing, everybody.